just heard, my name is Brian Quigley. I'm the director of the retail group at Locus Robotics. I've been with the company about 3 years. We've gone through a tremendous amount of growth in that time. And so really what I want to do today is explain a few things. So first of all, about Locus as a solution, what it can provide for organizations looking to scale rapidly, provide value, and sort of thrive in this market today. What Locus is as an organization, how we approach solving problems for you, and then what really happens on the ground. We have about a 5-minute video that we can show of one of our real-time customers. So that's me. We've done introductions. So this story is really about how did we get here? Why am I here today? What is Locus doing in the market today? What makes us a little bit different? So I actually really like this slide. I could spend half my presentation on this slide because it actually sort of follows my career in the supply chain automation industry. I'll sort of start with a little bit of history. I don't know if you've heard of Kiva Automation. Anybody here sort of familiar with the little orange robots? They were the first warehouse automation solution back in 2008. Really disrupted the market. Sort of introduced a whole new concept in how to move goods throughout a warehouse. They were so successful that when I joined them in 2009, they were rapidly expanding and building their customer base. So one of their first customers was Quiet Logistics, small 3PL just down the road from their office in Boston. They were one of the early adopters and really had a ton of feedback into what warehouse automation should be, how to make it valuable, how to make it fit into the industry. When Amazon came on the scene and saw the value that warehouse automation could provide, they decided to buy the entire company. So the heads of Quiet Logistics went into a conference room, clean whiteboard, and said, we understand the value of automation. We know what it can provide. We think we can find a way to do it better. We can make it cheaper. We can make it more flexible. We can make it easier to scale. And so 2 years later, Locus Robotics was born. So Locus Robotics was successful enough that it actually spun off from Quiet Logistics and became its own its own company in 2016. And we've been growing rapidly ever since. So we've been growing rapidly enough that a lot of these bullets are out of date, even though they were done not too long ago. So we're well over 300 million in funding, almost 2.5 billion picks in the field today. We have a headquarters in Amsterdam. We're deploying in EMEA with sites live in New Zealand, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and others. And we've included 2 new robots in our fleet. Both sort of adhere to how we approach solving warehouse automation and really allow us to do a lot more. So you can see on the screen, the Locus bot on the left there is probably what you associate with Locus when you think of a Locus robot. There are over 15,000 of those out picking as we speak today. And then we have 2 new robots for larger form factors, point-to-point, additional workflows. Really what we're looking to do is bring problem solving to all the assets, all the different workflows within your building on multiple levels and do it with a robot fleet that can integrate under a single software platform. So really how we approach this, and for the engineers in the audience, for the people who sort of work with automation on a day-to-day basis, our platform can deliver 1,000 robots in 1 million square feet with 3 different form factors, all working on a single software stack, communicating in real time, navigating in real time, all talking to each other. That is an incredibly difficult problem to solve for anyone that's ever looked at the scale of communication and data and sort of AI that needs to really enable that to happen. The self-driving car companies couldn't figure it out. We have. So that allows us to do not just each picking, which I know everyone here probably has thought about solving at some point, but also case picking, case replen, put away, B2B, point-to-point, sortation. We have a lot of different tools in our toolbox that we can use to make your life easier within the 4 walls of your warehouse. And again, we do it all in real time with high fidelity dashboards that will show you sort of minute by minute, second by second, what is happening in your operation. So one of the things that makes Locus a little different is We were founded by users of technology, not by a technology company looking to sell automation into an industry. And that may sound like a difference without a distinction, but it really is. The people that designed, created, and scaled Locus, they all had labor issues. Either getting labor, or the fact that labor is becoming more expensive day over day, week over week. They understood the problem and wanted to create a solution that helped facilitate rapid growth without massive scaling of labor. SLAs. Amazon has really set the bar in terms of next day delivery. Everybody expects things next day. It's really difficult to run a warehouse with the increasing expectations from your customers. Speed of deployment. There's a lot of systems out there. At ProMat last year, there was 116 AMR companies. And it's not because automation doesn't have value, but following the market trends, following the needs from your customers, following the shape of your year in terms of are things in January the same as they are in November, really allowing you to scale and fulfill as your demand requires is something that Locus really brings to the table. And then finally, volatility. 2 years ago, we could not get boxes out the door fast enough. COVID sort of blew up e-commerce. Everything changed overnight. Massive growth in various sectors. And now, we don't know if it's going to double next year or go to zero next year. There's a lot of uncertainty in terms of what's going to happen. Locus helps solve that problem by our scalability, flexibility, ease of deployment. So we'll talk a little bit about sort of real-world example. It's really easy to put slides on a PowerPoint and talk to them, but it doesn't make any difference if you don't have customers willing to say nice things, share experiences, really sort of demonstrate the value in a real-world environment. So we're going to talk a little bit about Carhartt. I know you're all familiar with them. Workwear company that has branched into other areas of the market. So they have a very rapidly growing fashion line. And so for some reason, my daughter's favorite fashion accessory is my ratty old Carhartt sweatshirt that I use for work in the backyard. But it has created tremendous demand for their product and entirely new markets that they had to solve for rapid growth and scaling. They could either go out and hire 1,000 new people to push carts faster. They could go out and invest in a new building that would take 2 to 4 years to stand up and tens of millions of dollars. Or they could work with a company like Locus that can bring a solution online in 8 to 16 weeks and be delivering value right away. So I do have a video. I'm going to walk through it, and then happy to sort of answer some questions.
DHL is a 3PL provider that offers end-to-end fulfillment in warehousing. Here at this site, we support the Carhartt network, and we do end-to-end order fulfillment across their wholesale, retail, and e-commerce channel, as well as returns processing.
This facility was built exclusively for us, and out of this building, we are doing our accessories and our women's line. One of our largest selling items is the Carhartt beanie hat that you've probably seen.
We are picking those with the Locus robots in a way that we are able to drive through good productivity while at the same time being able to handle the customer's VAS requirements on the back end.
Carhartt came to us initially to support a smaller DC with a smaller subset of SKUs. They came back about 3 months later that said, oh, by the way, that's gonna double, and we're gonna add 10 times the amount of SKUs that we were initially targeting. So we quickly engaged with Locus to support our picking process to be able to grow and scale to the solution that we see here today.
So the relationship between DHL and Locus is something that's grown over the years across every region and every business sector within DHL.
We knew that because of the scalability, because of the reliability that we've seen with other sites, and because the ROI just made sense for what the profile was going to be for the Carhartt business.
We've seen basically a double in UPH productivity, which, on a straight just cost and efficiency play, that's obviously huge to anybody operating warehouses.
Pre-Locus, we were picking 60 to 70 units per hour. Post-Locus, we're in the 180 to 200 range plus based on profile. And that's with 20 to 25 fewer people within the building as well, supporting the pick function. We've seen the 2 to 3 times gain at every site that we've implemented Locus, as well as the headcount reduction or reallocation to other functional areas within the building. Additionally, we've seen a reduction in the cycle time where orders are prioritized using the Locus prioritization engine and the business rules that we've set up to get the rush orders out as needed.
It's also helping us to manage and meet our customers' SLAs.
The Locus Robotics solution is ideal for a flexible environment or operations that go through peak season.
And this gives us a lot of flexibility to add, literally, on a couple weeks' notice, as many robots as we want.
We were able to scale our fleet by over 50%, and they are a plug-and-play solution. We turn them on, connects to the Locus network, and they're ready to roll.
Peak season was incredibly successful at the site and for Carhartt, and Locus really allowed us to drive that performance with the customer. We saw significant throughputs and actually had a record day of over 110,000 units that were supported by Locus in the each pick process.
We are trying to improve our customers' costs as well as improve their efficiency and time to market, while at the same time improving the lives of the associates that work for us and with us.
This allows us to actually cut out inefficiencies with walking, pushing a cart, those kinds of things that have been in the past more physical.
I like the robots. When I started and it was a cart, I was like a bull in a china closet with them carts. Bang, bang, bang. The robots are smaller, they're faster. We put a couple boxes on it and they do all the weightlifting.
In the current tight labor market, we've used Locus as a marketing tool at all of our hiring events to get people excited to come in and work with the Locus bots, knowing they weren't going to have to push 300 to 400 pound carts around throughout the day.
Some of the other benefits of using Locus Robotics is in the amount of time that associates need to train.
The training on the robots only take about an hour.
They show you where to pick, what to pick. So it's easy.
We have seen that retention has improved since the rollout of Locus bots. We are a very diverse workforce at the Carhartt facility. Locus has the ability to translate into over 24 different languages.
So all the way around, from recruiting, training, flexibility, and then physicality, those are the real competitive advantages.
We've seen an improvement in employee morale. They love working with the robots.
We have contests around here naming the robots, seeing who can pick the most every day. You know, it's created a challenging atmosphere. I want to be number one, you want to be number one. The associates view each and every robot as, you know, kind of a unique individual here.
I do consider the robots a part of my team. I call them my children. 99% of the time, my children are behaved and accurate.
If you're taking the wrong product, they say, no, that's not it.
The pickers are free to pick virtually any bot in the DC. We give them zones, and they have the access to the Locus TVs across the DC. They can see where the work is.
The dashboard and reporting, there's a lot of insight statistically and from a data perspective that we can pull up and look at that and then make adjustments to place product as productively as we can.
Here at Carhartt, we just completed our 10 millionth pick, which is a tremendous accomplishment and feat. It took us about 6 months.
That was incredibly fast and shows again the value that Locus has brought to the facility here.
And in fact, DHL as a whole has just surpassed 100 million units picked.
To be able to hit that is just awesome. It's a testament to the teams on both sides and the commitment to drive results within the businesses.
The partnership with Locus has been tremendous. Very easy to work with, very responsive. They're a very engaged partner.
We've had a progressive journey with Locus over the last 5 or 6 years with more sites every year growing as part of the network.
We have dozens of business cases to show that it's been successful.
So we opened this facility with the Locus application, and then we're expanding into 2 more operations here in a couple months. We've had some past experience with AGVs, and Locus, with the size and the cost model and also the maintenance, has been a lot better. The flexibility of adding and reducing as needed has been much better, and then the usability of the technology with the language has been honestly a game changer.
So a couple of high points, key concepts just to drive home. So, oops, that was the wrong one. Ease of deployment. Very quick to deploy, rapid response when volume and demand goes up. Ease of training for your associates. Very quick to take someone off the street and have them picking at full productivity rates within half a day. Not a lot of complicated menus. Literally anybody using an iPad can use the system. Rapid scalability. When things get busy during Black Friday to New Year's, the summer season for certain organizations, we can deploy additional bots that will scale with your business and then pull them back out when you don't need them. So you don't need to build the church for Easter Sunday. You basically can make sure that you're getting exactly enough automation at all times. Proven results. We have over 300 sites deployed today. Most of our customers will deploy and then scale with us. When they see how easy it is to use, when they see how flexible sites deployed today, want to put in additional buildings, additional sections, additional workflows with us. You don't have to do every single workflow in every single building all at once. Start with each picking. Go to P2P. Do full case replenishment for your B2B operations. So we can sort of scale with you and provide additional value year over year, season over season. And then the partnership is key, right? We do that with a dedicated team that will stay with you, provide real-time reports, provide semi-annual or annual reviews outlining how you may be able to derive additional value out of your system and help you sort of get the most for your automation dollar. And then again, productivity proven results. We have we're in 3 different regions, many countries. I think we're in 19 countries now, and I think 4 continents. So it's a safe bet, it's a proven bet, and it's one that I'm very happy to be a part of. So more information on that QR code, and I'm happy to take some questions if there's any.
Any questions? Otherwise, I have a bunch if you want to have a seat.
I have a question. Across the different companies you work with, what's the average order size? Obviously, with Carhartt, it's a clothing or company, but what other industries do you work in that have leveraged this, and how scalable is it for different industries?
Yeah, great question. So when you say order size, you mean physical? Got it. Okay. So we are in 4 different verticals. So we were born of the 3PL space. That was sort of the first space where we grew. I run the retail group, which is an obvious next step. Basically the same product, just slightly different organizations. We're also in healthcare and industrial. So we're doing some manufacturing workflows. A lot of medical companies are using us because they're seeing a lot of growth as well. In terms of order profile, the physical space on the bot is about a square meter. So if it fits in the square meter, it'll go on our Locus Origin bot. If it's bigger than that, it can go on a vector, and we can do full pallet moves as well. We generally like to see somewhere around 10,000 orders a day to really start to recognize the value. We work below that, but really the more volume we can put through the system, the faster the ROI is. Did that answer the question? Perfect.
Great question. Any other questions before I ask? So, no? All right, well, keep thinking and we'll come back to you. So, I'm wondering if you can provide some insight why a company like DHL would adopt AMR as opposed to increasing their physical workspace.
Sure. So DHL is actually our largest customer. They just placed the largest AMR order with us last year. They have over 5,000 robots working in their facilities today. The reason is really the high points that we sort of covered earlier. So, they have multiple customers that work in their 3PL space. Those customers on a contractual basis. And so they may need a tremendous amount of productivity today, but next year they're not sure it's going to be there. So we allow them to flex their business up and down and not, again, not over design and have either too much automation or not enough automation for the rest of the year.
All right, great. Are there any specific challenges to overcome when implementing a bot solution in a new facility, so greenfield, or an existing one like brownfield?
Yeah, sure. So traditionally, I think most of our business for the first few years was brownfield. Again, if you think about a 3PL space, it's mostly pushing carts up and down, bookshelf style orders, um, picking orders in a bookshelf environment. As our customers have been successful, as they have grown and opened new facilities, they've opted to take us with them. And so we are very easy to drop into a brownfield environment. There's very little to no infrastructure required to go live with Locus. We don't require you to move racks around and change all sorts of layouts. We will basically work with you where you are today. And that allows us to deliver value very quickly. For our customers that do greenfield environments, we have a design team that will sit down and say, based on your order profile, based on the number of orders, physical space available, here's what we think would make sense. But we work with you to operate in really any environment.
Great. And I know you touched on this a little bit, but maybe if you can elaborate a little bit on how automation, specifically AMRs, allow companies such as Carhartt to adopt the seasonal peaks or unplanned surges like COVID.
Yep, absolutely. So we work we call it robots as a service model. And that allows us to do a number of things that are really attractive for customers that have high peak to mean order profiles. A lot of our customers get very busy during the e-commerce season, so they may see a 50%, 100% uptick in orders. So traditionally, they would either have to build for their busiest day or hire a ton of labor to meet that demand. With Locus, once the system is installed and Locus One is running, you can drop in an additional 50% capacity by simply adding robots. And that is an extremely easy process. It's literally a truck backs up. We load the robots, they connect up to the Wi-Fi, and they're working in a matter of minutes. Once that period is done and you don't need that extra capacity, truck backs up and you push them back on the truck and you're done. So we can scale sort of to match your shape of the year. We can also scale year over year. So what we've seen fairly regularly is that customers will add capacity for Black Friday and into January and then say, actually, we've seen 5% growth, 10% growth just organically. And so they'll take an extra 25 robots and send 20 back, and they'll keep those 5. And we're happy to support that and grow the fleet as needed.
So we saw in the video, obviously, a lot of very happy workers. But on the other side of that, we hear about workers who worry about automation, and they worry about, what does this mean for my job? How would you describe the reception of the bots with the people who work hand in hand with them?
So I mean, just being completely honest, there is often a little bit of trepidation. They hear robots, they hear automation, they think they're coming to take their jobs. Once they see that we are a cobot system, we allow them to do more work more easily without sort of a wholesale replacement of your force. So traditionally what we'll see is that rather than go out and hire to replace workers that have left or going out and hiring for peak seasons, they will add robots, and the people that work with them will be very happy to work with them. I think that woman touched on it, but they're no longer lugging around heavy carts. They're no longer moving heavy boxes. They're literally letting the system do its job, and all they do is what humans are very good at, which is sort of identifying and grasping that item, putting it in the right location, and then moving on to the next task. We have a couple of anecdotal stories where our CEO actually loves to tell this story, where workers will sort of rave about the system because it allows them to go from walking 15, 20 miles a day up and down warehouses to walking a mile or so a day. And so it gives them more energy at the end of the day to spend time with their families or their hobbies or whatever it is. It sounds a little fluffy, but it's been a common enough theme that it's real. They actually like working with the system.
Yeah, I wonder, have any companies formally tracked like the increase in happiness at work or the retention? Because I know that in those spaces, typically retention can be difficult and turnover, can be really high. I would imagine if you have a cobot working with you, maybe you're a little bit happier. You're willing to stay longer.
Yep, absolutely. So we will see when we engage with customers, they'll often tell us they have 70%, 80%, over 100% turnover year over year. The labor market is tight and only getting tighter, and so the people that are needed to run an organization it gets harder and harder, and you have sort of less and less ability to select who's doing the job, right? So when you need fewer workers, the workers that remain are generally happier, generally more productive, and they're seeing their peers working as hard as they are, as opposed to having a revolving door where all this time is spent on training and sort of just getting people to do what they're supposed to do. And generally, workforces are generally happy and more productive just because it's an easier job.
Yeah, that actually leads into my next question. Have any of your clients come back and told you how the automation helps with their training time for their new associates? I think they touched on it a little bit in the video, but one of my first jobs after I graduated, I ran a distribution center for a home improvement company. And the amount of time that it took to train the employees for that distribution center, I mean, it obviously we had a retention problem, but the training is so intensive. I can imagine that this would be a much different training process.
It is an incredibly easy system to use.
Yeah.
It is. Anybody that's used an iPad will be a master of the system in an hour. I think that's what the woman said. But it actually takes less time than that. It's incredibly intuitive. You approach the robot. It tells you what you're supposed to pick. Shows you a picture of it. There's an integrated scanner on the bottom. You pick it, you scan it, and you place it. It's really, that's about as complex as it gets. There's no multiple screens to work through. There's no sort of memorization of, this order does this and that order does that. The system directs you every step of the way. And one of the nice things that they touched upon briefly is we can generate, I think it's over 26 languages now. So because there's no login with the system, as I approach a robot, the menu is going to appear in my native language. So if I'm a native Spanish speaker, it will appear in Spanish. If it goes to you and you're a native English speaker, it'll be in English. And so it cuts down on a lot of confusion, training, errors. It just becomes a very intuitive system to use.
That's great. Do you have a question? Hold on one moment. Oh, wait for the microphone. Otherwise, I have to repeat it. That's just more work.
So I just have a question regarding safety. So have you seen a reduction in labor injuries and workforce injuries? And also then with the robots themselves, are there accidents in the workplace with that?
Yep, so the system is inherently safe. We have 3 cameras, a LiDAR system that is used for navigation, so that's actually seeing structures, and it uses that image against a known map. And then we have 2 cameras that will see MHE, people, anything that is roughly a few feet off the ground. And then we have a camera that looks down for any debris, ladder wells, that kind of thing. I have been trying for 3 years to get a robot to hit me. It is yet to do so. I would encourage everybody to go and actually take a tour of a Locus facility. Reach out and we're happy to arrange a site visit. And usually what you see is the bots are actually picking their way through a crowd. They're extremely nimble, extremely safe. Again, we've never had a report of an incident. As a result, we anecdotally hear that workman's comp claims go down, injuries go down, insurance rates go down. Obviously, companies are not sort of eager to share that information with us, but anecdotally, yes, we see a huge reduction in that, especially if you're coming from an environment where you have like a walkie rider or a mule, where there's a lot of training involved, and when things go wrong, they go really wrong. So we see lots of benefits in those environments.
Other questions? Thank you for your question, by the way. No? Okay, I have more. Okay, so what are the advantages of a robot as a service subscription model?
Yep. So RAS, robots as a service, obviously cribbed from software as a service. There's sort of the obvious answer, which is as soon as we deploy, we're generating value. So we can generally be providing an ROI faster than you could even deploy most other systems. Again, we're live in around 12 weeks generally, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but 12 weeks is kind of our mean. And those bots are generating value from day one because there's not a huge capital investment to get them running. It allows us to scale up and scale down very quickly. So adding bots just means there's an increase in RAS, and then decreasing bots, corresponding decrease in RAS. And then lastly, we have to win your business every year. If we don't just sort of install a system, hand you the keys, and walk away. If the system isn't doing what it's supposed to do, if we're not delivering the value we're supposed to deliver, you're not going to continue to use the bots. And the success that we've had is because customers are continuing to use the bots and are sort of expanding with us. And that's really because we're an as-a-service model. We take care of service, we take care of support, we take care of upgrades. There's really just that one fee, and we do everything else. And then we have an entire customer success team that sort of is helping you sort of improve year over year. But the answer to your question is we need to maintain a partnership. We take that really seriously, and we've been successful doing it.
Great. So I'm sure there's a few people out in the audience that are considering adopting this maybe in their facilities. Is there any tips or maybe little pieces of advice as they're thinking about this that they should think about?
So I would, anybody that has, an operation that is, looking to reduce labor costs, either in the pick space, the business to business sort of full case space, or the pallet space, we generally will sit down with you, take some basic inputs, volume, order profile, that kind of information, and we'll generate what we call a concept of operations. We'll explain to you based on what you told us. If you put in Locus robots today, it would be X number of robots that would, use Y number of workers to generate this much, productivity gains, and we can back into an ROI from that. And that's all pre-contract. We will go through multiple revisions with you, and where it makes sense, we'd be happy to continue that conversation. Where it doesn't make sense, we're also really happy to say, sorry, at this time it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Part of the thing I really like about being a sales manager at Locus is because we're an as-a-service model, we are not in the business of taking bad deals. We're not in the business of making square pegs fit into round holes. If it's not going to work, we're happy to say so early. More often than not, it does work, but in the instance that it's not going to work, it's very little time spent, figuring out what that solution might look like for you.
Yeah. So you've been in this space for a while, obviously. Is there something that you see coming next? What does the future look like? I'm sure everyone asks you that.
If I had that, I'd be in the stock market.
Right?
No, I mean, automation is really it's less of a new sort of shiny object that only early adopters and technophiles are bringing on board. It's really becoming a necessity. If you're not automating, your competition is. It's becoming a mandate for organizations to figure out how to get more volume out of existing buildings, more volume out of existing workforces, and automation really is the key. There's a million different solutions out there. We don't try and do everything for everybody. We work within the four walls. We have end-to-end solutions that will increase your productivity and deliver value quickly. But we're not an ASRS, and nor do we try to be. So I think in terms of what do I see as the next big thing, I think it's going to be an increasing push towards automation. I think it's going to be increasing focus on ROI, and I think it's really going to be being able to scale quickly. Right, the years of 20-year paybacks, 10-year paybacks are coming to an end, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions out in the audience? You guys have been pretty quiet. No? All right. Well, any final thoughts that you have
Nope.
for the audience?
No, I appreciate you coming and being part of this today. And if you want to grab me afterwards and ask me any follow-on questions, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Great. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you.